Hello, everyone. This is your favorite radio host, your only radio host, Corinne Lafar from Between the Lines, broadcasting to you from Trinidad and Tobago. It's a beautiful day today. For those of you who are above ground, be thankful. I am above ground, and I am extremely thankful to be alive. Because once you are, it means to say that anything and everything is possible. I have with me today Gary Sirac. That name may sound familiar to you because he was on my show before, talking about the American Dream Revisited, his other book. But today we're going to be focusing on a lovely topic which I'm sure you're excited about. If your money talked, what would it say? Oh my goodness. I think we need to bring out a show about that. If your money talked, what would it say? Yeah, a whole TV series. That would be a never-ending series, I can tell you that. So we're going to be talking about that today, and I would love to know what my money would say if it could talk. We're gonna go deeper into that. And for those who have, those who don't have, those who have a little, those who want more, what would it say? Those who are dreaming about it, what would it say? So we're going to be talking with Gary, and let me just give a brief introduction about Gary. Gary Sirac is an entrepreneur, author, public speaker, financial advisor, and American Dream advocate. He is the president of Sirac Financial Services Incorporated, a family-owned company where he consults with entrepreneurs to build, grow, and maintain their business to ensure their future success. If Your Money Talked is his first book. It's about personal finance and the most common mistakes people make with their money. If Your Money Talked is full of tried and true techniques, which if you practice and master, can lead you out of debt and into a better, more confident life. Like I mentioned before, he was on my show previously speaking about the American Dream Revisited, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Results, which was released in 2016. It's an inspiring book written to tell the stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary results by internalizing hope, utilizing their freedoms, and identifying opportunities on their journey to obtain the American dream. So I encourage you to go through my YouTube channel for my show and check out that previous recording. I'm sure you will be impressed with it and impressed with Gary as you will be today. So If Your Money Talked, welcome Gary Sirac to Between the Lines again.
Thank you, Corinne. It's a pleasure being back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. And let me just share my screen here so that I can show people how handsome you are in that lovely garden that your wife tenders. And we're going to be featuring your book as well and how they can get your book. And we're going to be also doing a quick video of why you wrote that book. So let me do the video first and then we can go into the discussion. Okay, so this is Gary here with his handsome self. His site is very beautiful, very easy to navigate. So I don't know if you're seeing what I'm showing, Gary.
Yes, I am.
Okay, beautiful. He has a lovely office. Yes, with freedom behind him. Yes, the Statue of Liberty. And this is just to give you a quick overview here. So his two books are here, but I'm going to go straight to where books is featured, the books tab, to get to that video. And so if you want to get a copy of that book, which I encourage you to do, you can grab it here. It says get the book now, pretty easy. So before Gary starts to talk, I want to find out, the first question is always, why did you write a book? But he has a lovely short video, 38 seconds, that will feature that. So let's run the video.
I wrote the book because I was frustrated with how little people understand money and how little training there is. And the fact that there is no education for money today. It just doesn't seem to. Financial services, and I've had lots of stories come across my desk. I've been involved with lots of stories. So what I did is I took some of the most germane, pertinent stories and I put them in book form. And then I changed everything so no one could figure out who they really were. To protect myself, protect them, and I want to get their point across.
Beautiful. As I tell you, short. So we're going to go straight into it. Let me just write. So If Your Money Talked, tell us a bit about why would we need to know what our money is saying?
Well, the first thing is I want to give you a real brief story how the book actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were on a weekend excursion to Vegas, and we decided to just get a little mini vacation. They had one of those charter planes out of Akron, Canton. I live in Canton, Ohio. It was direct to Vegas. So we hopped the plane, and as we were in the plane, the crowd noise in the airplane was incredible. The energy and the excitement, and I'm a listener, so my wife was reading, and I was listening to all the conversations around me, Corinne, and they were talking about how wealthy they were going to be and how much money they were going to win and how all these things were going to happen in Vegas. And one guy had blackjack figured out, another person had roulette figured out. And it was just really interesting to listen to them and what they're going to do with their money. And one person sitting by me said, as soon as he hit it, he was going to retire. He was finally, he's tired of his job. Another person said he was going to pay off all his debts and get out of debt and never do that again. And I mean, everybody had a story. And at one point I turned to my wife and I said, Linda, I said, it's really interesting. And she said, what? She was totally engrossed in her book. I said, this airplane has so much energy in it. Excuse me, I think it could fly itself. So it was really incredible. And anyway, make a long story short, 3 days later, we get back on the plane. Everybody's in the exact same seats because that's how the charter works. So I'm sitting there, and I told Linda, I said, well, I'm really anxious to hear what the people around me did. They were so verbal, what they were going to do, all the winnings. And she looked at me and said, really? And I said, yeah. She said, okay. So she reads, and I'm listening, and except this time it's very different. I tell people, I had the feeling like I've attended 3 funerals and I was about to attend my 4th. It was very solemn, very quiet, very painful. The people around me were talking, but not the way they were talking going out. They were talking reality, what had happened to them in Vegas, because let's face it, you don't go to Vegas to win a lot of money. You go to win a lot of money, but reality says that ain't going to happen. And it didn't happen for them. So the one lady sitting by me said she thought she was going to have to get another job to pay off her debt. Another person sitting by me, the guy who was going to retire, said that he did so much damage to his credit card that he's going to have to work a few more years for sure just to pay that off. Another person, it was just one sad story after another, Corinne. So I came back from that, and I thought to myself, how screwed up that these people actually thought they were going to achieve money success by going to Las Vegas. And that's what really motivated me to write the book. So to answer your question, that's how I got there. Answer your question, what does our money say? Well, money can say a lot of things. A lot of times it would scold us for doing things that we shouldn't do. It would scold us for spending money that we shouldn't spend it on. And then other times it would celebrate with us for doing really good things with our money and creating experiences that were lifetime experiences. So our money says lots of different things to us if we listen.
Well, here's the thing. I'm listening to that story about the plane, and it's just like anything else. You're taking a trip, you're excited about it, but then when you come back from that trip, you probably either have good things to say or bad things to say. And what I'm sensing is that people on that plane went with a lot of hope, a lot of anticipation, excitement. Of course, it's Las Vegas, and the perception is built around making money. I mean, you can get rich. Yeah, you're going to lose some. Everybody knows that. But you're ultimately going with a positive thought that you're going to make money. And so the whole idea of you're going to be making money feels good to you. It's a good feeling because you can see the life that you want and deserve becoming a reality. So when that didn't happen, I mean, the plane is going to be much more quieter. It couldn't fly itself coming back, I'm sure.
No, I don't think it would have gotten me. I don't think it would have turned once. So.
Right. It probably wouldn't get off the tarmac. We don't know. But it's that hope that lives in people, on a daily basis. Even if you're working in a job or you have your own business, however you're getting that income, you live with that hope that one day you will be able to live the life that you deserve, that you dream. So the money, if you were listening, I mean, you're listening to the people going on the plane ride to Vegas. You're hearing the money saying, I am so excited. I am looking forward to just, buying the things that I want to buy without having to think twice about it or worry about it. But then coming back, you're like, oh my God, now I have to conserve. I have to go and tell my wife or my significant other or my children they can't have the things that they wanted to get. I feel like a disappointment. I feel, it has that kind of two side of a coin, two-faced kind of a thing. And I want people listening to the show, like you said, to you go through a whole emotional roller coaster, and it's like, how can we get a grip? Like you say, your money scolds you, and it does, because you feel that beating. Your money scolds you, and of course it celebrates with you when you spend it well. But you want to be more in the position of making the money and it not scolding you. How can we have that conversation or that relationship with our money that we are not scolded that often or scolded at all?
Well, the first thing I come across, I'm a financial services guy, so I work with clients. I have probably close to 1,000 when I add it all up. And here's what I've really found, is that so many people come to my office, they fill out forms, and I ask them questions about finances. And what I discover is so many of them spend more than they make. And it just doesn't work. It's bad math. And I'm really good at math. That's my strong suit in life. I have a great mathematical mind for adding and subtracting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and multiplying and dividing. So when I look at this and I say to myself, okay, you're making $80,000 a year, but you're spending 90, that isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. Or I had a young man who was waiting tables. He was making 35, 40 grand a year, but he was driving a brand new BMW that he leased. And I said, okay, how is that working? He said, well, it's pretty expensive. And I said, yeah, it really is. What are you saving? He said, well, I'm not saving any money. I'm just driving a really nice car. And I said, okay, that's an answer. It's maybe not the one I would choose to have, but it's certainly indicative of what his future is going to be like, Corinne. So what I found is that so many people spend more than they make, and they all have good excuses, and that's great, except that's not how you get ahead of the game.
The thing is, Gary, is that sometimes we are not even aware that we're spending more than we make. Sometimes it's just so hard to watch every cent, every dollar, because if you do, it's just gonna be, you're just not going to spend. You're going to, I don't know, you're just not going to do the things you need to do, because the bills are coming in, expenses are coming in. You just have to pay it. You have to deal with it. Unexpected things happen. You just have to deal with it. If you were to, when you sit down on an accountant or somebody sits down with you and you realize that you're spending more, you're like, how the hell did I manage? How the hell did it happen?
Yeah, 90% of the people are having, and they're asking, wow, did I really do that? And I said, yeah. And they said, why? I wasn't even aware.
Yeah.
So you bring up a great point. And it's actually the second principle that I write about in the book. The first one is don't spend more than you make. Most people have no idea. Then they say, well, how do I stop it? And I said, well, I have one very easy solution. And they said, what's that? I said, I want you to spend cash, not credit cards. I said, because credit cards can be your friend or they can really be your enemy.
Yeah.
And I write about that too, because they go both ways. If you're paying off you're getting your airline miles or whatever, that's great. If you're not paying off your account, it's pretty expensive. In fact, I'll give you a real quick story and I'll go back to this. I was at Starbucks. I'm a coffee drinker. I drink mochas every morning, Corinne, and I stop at 1:04. I mean, I'm addicted. My wife said, you are, she said, I would say it's a habit. She said, but I don't think so. I think you're just addicted. And I said, well, it's a good thing to be addicted to, chocolate and good coffee. So anyway, I go to Starbucks and I'm in line and there's about 10 people ahead of me. And I'll never forget this because the lady that, takes my money knows me because I'm there all the time. So I get up to the counter and I said, can I ask you a question? She said, sure. And I said, how many of the people that were in here and just bought their coffee paid for it with either a credit card or a debit card or cash? And she said, why do you want to know that? I said, I'm doing some research. She said, okay. So she went and looked. And out of 10 people, 7 of them paid credit card, 2 people used a debit, and 1 person paid cash.
Wow.
And that's what happened. And I said, wow, that's pretty amazing. So the other thing is I looked at those 7 people and I recognize them. They're there all the time, just like I am. Every morning there's a crowd that shows up. And I think to myself, they're charging their $5 coffee every single day. Are they paying that bill off or are they not paying the bill off? If they're not paying the bill off, that $5 cup of coffee just became a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Because interest on credit cards very high. I mean, I've seen it 15%, 10%, 8%, but whatever it is, all of a sudden that $5 became $6, and if they didn't pay it off, it could become $7. So I'm looking at this saying to myself, that's a real problem. And that's what happens. Clients come in, we talk, and I say, wait a minute, I want you to try something really universal and new. And they said, what's that? I said, I don't want you to charge things. I want you to get rid of some credit cards, take them out of your wallet, keep one for emergency, and I would like that to be a debit card. And then what I really want you to do is pay cash.
Yeah.
And they said, what? I said, because that's how you're really going to know what you're spending in a week, in a month.
Yeah, yeah. Now, for persons who don't have any cash at all, no money, it's probably better to stay poor. Let's use that word. I don't like to use that word, but stay without money, because then you don't have these sort of worries.
Yeah. And Corinne, you're right, 100%. And I've told that to people. I said, don't spend money you don't have. I said, it just causes so much stress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a restaurant. This is crazy. It's over Christmas. It's a restaurant my wife and I frequent on a regular basis. And we know the waiters and the waitresses. And the waitress came up to me and she said, boy, Gary, you're not going to like what I did. I said, okay. Her name's Lori. And I said, Lori, why am I not going to like it? And she said, well, I just bought a large screen TV. And a big one there was something I wanted to watch, and I looked at my TV and decided I was going to get a new one. I said, okay, why wouldn't I like that? And she said, well, I bought that and a brand new stereo system. She said, I just spent $3,000. And I said, okay, well, so far that sounds really nice. And she said, yeah, I don't have $3,000, so I did it on one of those things where I could delay my payments for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to pay them in 6 months. I said, well, what are you going to do in 6 months? She said, I don't know. I hadn't figured that out yet. And I said, so is that the part I'm not supposed to like? She says, yeah. And she said, what do you think? And I said, I don't like that part. So anyhow, but people do things, she did that just, it was kind of one of those sporadic, all of a sudden she makes a decision and there wasn't any thought behind it. She did it all on impulse.
Yeah.
It means she's out $3,000 and has no way of paying that bill off in 6 months.
Wow. Well, a lot of us do impulse buying, and we buy based on emotions, and it's for that temporary initial gratification, that short-term gratification. We worry about it after.
Absolutely. And I am no different, and I have the same issues with that, Corinne. I have a tendency, when I see really nice clothes that actually fit me, I like to buy them because most of the clothes out there doesn't fit me. So if I see something, I say, oh, I'll get that. And I've been dangerous at times.
So what? Let's put people in different categories. How can we categorize people to help them to have money, have a nice conversation with them over a cup of coffee? How can we categorize different people and then help those different categories based on where they may be at this time?
Well, it's interesting. I meet lots of people in coffee shops because I like to drink coffee, so we'll have our meeting there. And so we'll sit down, and the coffee shops all know me because I hang out there and before I come to work. So I'll have a breakfast meeting and a cup of coffee and a donut or whatever, actually a muffin or whatever. But nonetheless, I had one just a couple days ago with a friend of mine / client, and we were talking and we were having a money discussion. And he said, it's real interesting. Everybody thinks I make a lot of money. He said, and I make some money, but they think I live really high. He said, well, the reason I live in the house I live in is my mother-in-law inherited a lot of money and gave us some, and we use that to buy the house. And now everybody thinks I'm super rich, and they treat me differently. He said, it's very frustrating. And I said, but you're not super rich. He said, no, I have a house that's kind of paid for because my mother-in-law bought it for us. Right. And he said, I didn't argue because that's what she wanted to do, and it's my wife, and so we did that. Anyhow, it was an interesting discussion. He said, but here it is, this perception that I'm like this really rich guy, and I'm not even close.
Yes.
So we're talking, he's got 3 kids to put through college, and we talked about how he was saving money, and we came to the conclusion he needs to save at least 10% just to be ahead of the curve, and probably 15% really to get anywhere he needs to get to with his kids in college and what he's doing. And what I'm finding, Corinne, most people don't save 5%.
Yes. It's a
So you got to
discipline.
start somewhere.
It's a discipline. It's a discipline. So people who are listening to this and who will be listening to this, they want to get out of debt. They want to have that nice conversation, easy conversation, laugh with their money, not be scolded. How can they start? I mean, from worst case scenario, they have nothing. They're
Okay.
unemployed, they're unemployed.
Well, that's hard. You got to have a job. Because
Yeah.
unemployed, I don't know what you do, because I don't know how that would even work if you don't have a job. So the first thing I tell people, you have to have a job. I said, I don't care how much it pays you. You have to have some sort of an income stream, Corinne, because unless you can create your own out of smoke and water, I don't know how you do it. But I don't know how that would work. So my sense is you've got to have an employment. So let's take someone who's employed, because then I can at least make sense of it. So we have someone who's employed. I don't care if they're making a lot or not making a lot. Unemployed. I have a. So my sense of this is what I always tell them, regardless of what your debt structure is, what you're spending, I want you to take 10% of every check and put it away.
Yes.
I said, and I want you to put it in a drawer. I put it in the bank, put it wherever you want to put it. I don't care, but I want you to take 10% of every check and put it away.
Right.
And they ask why, and I said, because that becomes your emergency money.
Right.
You have to have emergency money. You have to have ready cash.
Right.
If you don't, even if you get out of debt, the next time something bad happens, you don't have cash, you put on your credit card and you start all over again, and you're back in the hula hoop. You're back in the deal.
Right.
It's not good. So I explained to them why I want them to put 10% away. The second thing I want them to do is pay down their debt.
Yeah.
But they don't have to pay it all off at one time. They pay an amount they can afford that still allows them to put 10% away from themselves, and they slowly chip away at whatever damage they've done to themselves. And that's how it gets started.
Well, the thing with credit cards, as you know, is that the interest keeps adding daily and it keeps adding up. And if they're in deep in the hole, even if they're putting whatever they could afford, it still doesn't, the amount that they're putting is like they're still digging themselves deeper if they're not able to make that lump sum and pay it off in full.
And you're correct. But what I actually tell them to do, the most important thing is not continuing to add on, though. And see what they do. I have a client of mine who came to me, they had over 100 grand on credit cards, which is, to me, incredible. I had never seen $100,000. They had 10 different cards at $10,000 a card.
Wow.
His average interest rate was 15%.
Yeah.
So that's $15,000 that he had to pay off, and it wasn't reducing the debt on the card whatsoever.
Right.
And he looked at me and says, first of all, I says, how did you do this? And he said, well, I wanted to do this. I needed a new roof. I needed whatever. And I said, so you never paid for anything? He said, no, I just put it on the cards.
Yeah.
And I said, how do you think this is going to work? And he said, well, so far it's worked great. I paid them 15 grand and they leave me alone. I said, yeah, but you're not getting anything for your money and you have $100,000 of debt. I said, does that bother you? He said, nah, not so much. And it was unbelievable. And he really was serious. It didn't really bother him at all. It bothered me more than it did him, which I told him was a big problem. I said, you're never going to get this fixed because you don't care.
Yeah.
And he didn't care.
So for persons who want to get out of that, let's say somebody do have 100,000 in debt, how do they start? Because even if they have an income, remember they have a family, they have their bills, commitments, and they're putting aside, yes, the 10% for emergency. Whatever is left for whatever they can afford, they're putting towards that 100,000. But it still keeps building. The remaining amount on the card in debt is still adding because there's a remaining amount.
Absolutely. And Corinne, that's the problem with credit cards. I mean, you hit it right on the head. My biggest problem with credit cards is that they will bury you and not even think twice about it. And they don't care.
Yeah.
So the real issue is when you get in so deep, what do you do? And there's all kinds of credit sources and people that will help you redo that. And I don't do that really. But there are people that will consolidate all your cards and get you into one program. None of them are good programs, but they're better than nothing.
Yeah.
My sense is, though, what I would tell you what I told this other client who had over $60,000 in credit card debt. I told him, I said, you really need a second job.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, seriously. And I said, you need to find a second job that you can make some money, because I don't see any way you're going to pay this credit card off.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
you just can't do it. And he said, well, I'm really having trouble. And he's doing my 10%. He's got a 401k, put some money in. That's great. And he said, well, what other job do I get? And I said, I really don't care. Just something that will generate some revenue. And you're just going to have to do this for a while. And I said, and furthermore, it wouldn't bother me if you had your kids go to work. I mean, they're old enough. And
Yeah.
I said, let them get jobs. Instead of you giving them money, say, if you want money, you get your own job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did that. And funny, he did this for really about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, he would have been a great Uber driver because he's got a great personality. But
Yeah.
Uber didn't exist then. So he ended up actually working in a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got that kind of personality in a bar. He made great tips.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an unlikely bartender when you talk about his education, but he made it work.
Mm-hmm.
And his tips were very good. And he was able to literally pay his credit card down dramatically. And then he wasn't feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him over 2 years to pay the credit card off.
Wow. But at least he did that. At least he did that.
Yes.
Got that weight off of him.
And then he quit tending bar.
Wow.
And he said, okay, I don't have to do this anymore. And it was just a very cool story, and a really nice guy who had gotten himself kind of swept away by credit cards and some expenses.
I would have still continued bartending. No, I'm serious. I would have still continued bartending and put that money after I paid off that credit card debt, put that money aside for savings, investments, whatever it is.
Oh, I agree with you completely, but he just said, I'm quitting this job. I've done what I said I was going to do. His goal was to pay off the card and quit. And I said, okay, but you're right. I could have made a strong case for him to continue.
Yeah.
He made great money doing that.
Yeah, and for all you know, I might have quit the job and just do bartending.
Well, yeah, and why he said he eventually quit is that he wanted to be around the family a little bit more, and he felt kind of like he just wanted to pay more attention to them.
Yeah, and I figured that would have been the case, and that's good. But you know, bartending is such a good skill, and it connects you with so many people. You never know where, you know, I always look at a bit bigger picture. You never know where it could end up. You could be certified as a bartender. You can work for different bars on your own time. It's like an entrepreneurial business as opposed to working for somebody where you have to go in 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever. So I think you would have had more flexibility as a bartender and allowed you more time with your family.
You know what's interesting too, Kern, is he made great tips. I mean, they didn't pay him much per hour, but his tips were amazing. And he would show me, you know, kind of, he kept track of all his tips because he was really into this. And they were substantial. So it was impressive.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit just for doing what he had to do to make it work. Not everybody is willing to do that.
Yeah, well, that's the start. Doing what you have to do to make it work. You know, stepping out of your comfort zone. You know, you have a monster facing you, and you just need to stand up to that monster and do what it takes. You know.
I agree with you completely, Kern.
Do what it takes. Do what it takes. Wow, Gary. A lot of people, you know, are dealing with this type of issues. The money. You know, people want money. They don't have money. They want more money. You know, and if as we say, money could talk. Wow, you know, that it's a real sit down, face you, confront you conversation you need to have with that money, and money needs to have with you. I could imagine money. It's not, you know, it's not a matter of you talking to the money, but the money talking to you, like you say. The money might be saying, you don't have the discipline. You know, you don't have the discipline, so I'm not going to give you more until you have the discipline.
You're 100% right.
Yes, to treat me right.
You got to listen, and then you have to take action. And there's really a 3-step program. 1, you have to admit it. 2, you got to pay attention to what you're really doing. 3, create a plan. And then the 4th is you got to really listen and follow your own, follow your own program.
Yeah.
It's kind of I mean, it really is difficult, but here's kind of the ironic side of this. We also have lots of people that are very, very wealthy, and a lot of them aren't very happy.
That is it. That is it, Gary. I said that in another show. You know, there are people with a lot of money and they're not happy. And this is why I said to you before, probably it's best to not have money and be poor, because the poorer people seem to be happier. Because the focus tends to be everything else that matters. Your family, love, being there, all the values that really makes life worth living.
Totally. And it's so interesting because I watched a program the other day, and they're talking about doing these studies on rats. And the rat study was to show the motivation of a rat and what their brain did, the brain activity of a rat, and how they felt about themselves. I don't know how they know how a rat feels about himself, but I have no clue how they psychologically figure that out. But nonetheless, the rats, they had trust fund rats that basically they fed, and the rats did nothing except eat and lay around, and their brain waves were like really weak and not very good. The other rats, they made them dig for their food, and they made them go out and look for their food in this controlled environment. And those rats were way more active. Their brains were better. The x-rays, whatever they did on the tracking of it, it was incredible. And I first I ever heard of trust fund rats, but it really made me, I know trust fund kids that have zero motivation. Like they're so spoiled, and trust fund adults that they just don't have any, there's no passion, no purpose.
Because it's handed to them. They don't know how the hell they got it.
Right.
It's handed to them, and anybody you just hand it, they don't appreciate the value. Well, I shouldn't say anybody. There are some people who appreciate it because they understand the background of how it led to that person handing it over to you and trusting you with such a responsibility that listen, I can't play with this. I have to take this and work this and maintain a legacy so that with my children or my family, I can carry it on.
You'll like this story. A client of mine is very wealthy, and his son came to work. And I said, so what's he doing? He said, oh, I put him at the bottom of the rung. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, no, I mean at the bottom of the rung. I said, so what's he doing? He said, well, at night he cleans up the building and he cleans the bathrooms.
Right.
And I said, okay. And I said, how long is he going to do that for? He said, until I'm happy with the way he cleans up the bathrooms and cleans up the floors. And then I'm happy that he really grasps what that means, because all the other employees depend on that place being clean. And he has to understand that's a big deal. And so as far as I'm concerned, as long as it takes him to really get the point of what this is about, and he's not just cleaning toilets, he's doing something that matters. And he said, then I'll bump him up to another position. And this is a really wealthy guy. And this kid never had to clean a bathroom in his life, I'm guessing. But he's cleaning these.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting. And I said, so how long will this last? He said, well, as long as it takes for him to really appreciate how I got this, because if not, this isn't going to work.
I remember watching that when I used to watch Young and the Restless, when Victor Newman put his children in the mail room, right down to the bottom. He sent them in the mail room to get to know people, walk around, deliver mails, and get to, understand how the company works. He said he started this from nothing, because he came from a poor background, and, he's an immigrant, and, he started Newman Enterprises from nothing. So his children are not going to come be rich and suddenly feel that they're going to walk into VP or assistant CEO position. He started them from the bottom. And I was always like, this is something that a lot of people may not do, but it is something to appreciate. And not only that, when you start them at the bottom, it helps them to appreciate people. I think that's what Victor was trying to say as well. You respect the people that are working for you. You see who they are, their family backgrounds, you get to know them. So when you see you get to the top, you're not going to be treating them, or you're not supposed to be treating them as if they're below, or these are the people that make you who you are. So you need to know and respect them.
Totally. And that's exactly the point. And that was his point. And he said, listen, as far as I'm concerned, he said, I'm great if my son wants to go out and drink with the employees, and after work on Friday, if they want to go get a drink or something. He said, I want him to get to really know these people, not from ownership, but from being on the floor, cleaning the floors and scrubbing toilets. And he said it'll give him so much of an advantage down the road when he really needs their help, and he can trust them and they trust him. And
that's
so
right.
He said, if he doesn't like it, he said, I told him, if you don't like this, go get another job. So kind of funny. But that's how it started out, and I thought that was great. Here's the alternative. I have another client of mine who owned a very successful auto dealership, a chain of them. And he put his son in, and his son sold cars for a little while. Then he made him this, and then he made him that. And this kid was just so spoiled. And I watched this all happen, and it didn't take long for the father to step away and the son to completely trash the business.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he had no respect for the other employees. He had no respect for anybody. And part of it was because he started out being entitled, and that just doesn't work. So my book, when I really worked on this book, I really looked at both aspects. I had lots of really cool stories I could have used. The ones I chose, I thought all had a point to them that would help people understand. There's another one, Corinne, that I think is really cool. Probably the strongest point in the whole book is about limiting beliefs and money.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That is huge, and there's a huge element of people who don't think they deserve to have money.
Oh, that's another topic. That's a whole other topic, Gary, and that is something I'm passionate about. And you know, even me, because we have been brought to believe these limiting beliefs from childhood, from the time we are born. And it's the things that we even say and we don't even realize we're saying it, that is a limiting belief, until, you know, after a while you become more aware and you expose yourself to personal development. You realize, wait, I've been saying this thing all these years. My mother told me, my father told me, my teacher told me, my whoever told me, my classmates told me, and I'm like saying the same crap all the days of my life. This is why this is happening to me.
We should have another conversation about this, because I wrote a chapter on it and I've studied it a lot, because I found it in all kinds of places. It comes out in all my conversations with my clients. I get so much interesting information and feedback, a lot of it which I find to be horrible, by the way, but just fascinating what they say and where it comes from. And
people even use biblical phrases to even keep you down, like you don't deserve to be rich, to be abundant, to be wealthy. And one bread they're saying you're supposed to be abundant, and another bread they pull out something from the Bible to keep you down. I mean, anything to just keep your mind from thinking of expansion, of, you know, of living, and it is made to make you feel that when you have too much, you're going to become this type of evil person. You know, all sorts of ridiculous things, as opposed to having more to give more. Yeah?
Yes.
Having more to give more. I want to have more to give more. I want that.
Oh, you know? Absolutely. One of the coolest things is when I first became, like, my book, The American Dream Revisited, I built a scholarship into the book. So 20% of all sales go to a scholarship, and I'm helping pay for someone to go to college. You know, the first year we announced our first scholarship, and we'll do another one this year because we've sold a bunch of books. That's cool. And I just think it's really nice to be able to help people that I don't even know and will probably never meet. And I don't care. It's just something I could do and give back, because I didn't write the book to get rich. I wrote the book to help people. And now the people who buy it can help people. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Oh my goodness, Gary, I really need to have you back on to talk about those limiting beliefs and the things that people say. You know, I want people to become more aware. That's why I do my show, is to build awareness, to empower, to let people realize that they're like walking around zombies. And they're just floating. They're going with the flow. The wind takes them here, they go with that. And there's nothing wrong with going with the flow, you know. But if you know the direction that you're going, or you can determine the direction because of what you pour into your mind, into your soul, into your heart, then that's a different thing. But if you're being influenced so much by everybody else and everything else, and you have no control, you're just floating like a leaf, well, my goodness, you know.
It's a problem. Yeah. So I would love to come back and have that conversation with you. We would probably take up the whole half hour, and I'm good with that, because it's something I'm extremely passionate about. And yes, I'd love to do a triple header with you. So
that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. This is more than half an hour gone. We're almost 1 hour in. So,
wow. Okay.
And we didn't even realize it. So
no, me neither. But that's what happens when you have fun and you're talking to someone interesting. So thanks.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary. I really appreciate that. If your money talk, people, what secrets would it tell? You notice the book cover is saying shush, you know, because the things your money might want to tell you, scold you, have that serious sit down over a cup of coffee or a beer and tell you a couple of things that you need to take action on. Face it. It's about confrontation. It's about accepting where you are, realizing that you're not in the position that you want to be, and saying, listen, I need to really step up. I need to do what it takes. I need to get out of my comfort zone. I want to have a nice relationship with money. I want to be able to smile with money. I want to have a glass of wine with my money. I don't want it to be scolding me every time. Yeah.
No, you hit it right on the head. You know, I want to have my mochas in the morning with my money. Yeah, it's part of the routine. So love to come back. One question I have for you, if you could encourage the people who have read my book, The American Dream Revisited, or If Your Money Talks, but especially to go on and say something nice on Amazon. I haven't been pushing that, and I'm told I need to have more reviews. People
reviews
who know this stuff, and I'm not one of them, said, yeah, you should get some new reviews. I said, okay. So now I'm letting people know, hey, if you like this and you thought it was cool, go on and say something nice. And if you didn't like it, forget you read it. So that's good. So
yes, and I do encourage reviews. You know, getting testimonials is one of my big things. Anytime I do anything for my clients, I say, can I have a review? If I speak anywhere, I say, can I have a testimonial? You know, it helps to build your credibility and visibility out there. So I would encourage persons to do that. And of course, to buy the book, yeah, because in order for you to leave a review, you need to buy the book. So I thank you. Yes, I thank you so much, Gary, for being on my show once again. And like we said, we are ready to do a triple header on limiting beliefs when it comes to money. I look forward to having that conversation. I'm sure your people on your end will set that up. They know what to do when it comes to my show. So
yeah, they're very good at that, and that's good because I have no clue. They just say, hey, you're talking to Corinne today. I say, okay, that's anyway. Hey, you have a great day.
You have a great day too, and thank you so much for sharing your stories. The stories is what sell. The stories is what resonate with people. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I will never forget it. I will remember them, and I hope the people listening will remember them. And not only that to remember, but also the most important thing, to take action. Sitting by and just, you know, not doing anything is not going to get you anywhere. For things to change, you need to change. You need to take action. Thank you so much, Gary, for being on Between the Lines.
Thank you.